Okay. So my husband and I purchased our home in 2004, and right after the birth of our first son. And he is a firefighter with the municipality of Chatham-Kent. And at the time, I was working from home for a Toronto-based company in a home-based office situation. I'm now working outside the home, and actually I've already noticed that being away from the house for periods of time has really helped with the turbine issue. Unfortunately, the place where I'm working at now is quickly being surrounded by turbines. In fact, they're going up quicker than I've ever seen. In the past 4 weeks, I've seen 6 new ones pop up. So it remains to be seen whether we'll be affected there at work or not. In fall of 2008 is when they started building the turbines and they started kind of turning them on. They did come to us, the windmill companies, prior to and notify us that turbines were going in the area. And at the time, we were not really all that concerned. In fact, if our property would have been large enough, we probably would have considered putting a turbine on our property because the dollars that they were offering were quite substantial. And we were told they're quiet, you won't even notice that they're there. They're quieter than a ceiling fan running in your home. There are no health effects. They've been all around the world going up, and they're the way of the future. So we believed that, and we happily went about our business watching the turbines go up all around our property. We have 2 turbines within 800 meters of our home. We have approximately 15 within 2,000 meters of our home. And we have 2 farms, one on either side of us. The first one went up in 2008, was 54, I think, and now across the road, just last year, they put up another 20 some, I believe. So we're completely surrounded by turbines. When we look out our windows at night now, we can see anywhere from 60 to 80 flashing red lights, which really tells you just how close they are. And yeah, we sure noticed them. I was working from home when they first turned on, and I believe that I got hit the hardest and the quickest because it was winter and I didn't leave the house a lot because I was working at home and spending my time at home. And over the winter, I started to have severe headaches, nauseousness. We definitely noticed the noise, all 4 of us. My husband started to not be able to sleep from the noise. My children would go to bed at night and vomit just before they went to sleep for no apparent reason. And of course, we just kept thinking it was the flu or something else. We bought a carbon monoxide detector because we thought, well, maybe there's something in the house. And then it was just by chance that my husband, I think it was February the following year, my husband was chatting with someone and talking about all the problems we'd been having. And the person said to him, have you ever considered it could be the turbines? And my husband said, well, no, like, yeah, we hear them, and yes, they annoy me, and I can't sleep at night, he said. But it had never occurred to us that our medical problems could be the cause, that the turbines could be the cause. So when I started Googling online and looking up wind turbines and problems, I was shocked to find people all around the world, really, with the exact same symptoms that I had, describing the exact same sounds, the exact same feelings, the exact same vibrations. And it was a horrible feeling because I knew right away that all those problems came from the turbines. And it's hard to believe that in Canada, our government could do that, could put up that many around people. Sorry. It's okay. And let them suffer and not do anything about it. Firstly, the enjoyment of our property, which is the main reason why we wanted to purchase this property, to make it into our dream home, to live on, this nice piece of land. And when we go out in the yard now, we just hear the turbines. We don't get to hear nature or just enjoy our backyard anymore. We've got 2 huge turbines looming over top of us that we can constantly hear. My mother-in-law, sometimes when she goes into the yard, gets vertigo, so she can't go out in the yard anymore and play with the kids. My husband, who's a hunter, he'll sit out in the bush trying to enjoy the peacefulness of hunting, and all he can hear is the turbines, and it's something that when you know it's making your family sick, it just grates on your nerves, and it just makes your stress level go up so high, because as soon as you realize you're listening to it, you just can't help but get angry with the situation. Health-wise, we've had headaches, we've had emotional issues resulting from lack of sleep. My husband doesn't sleep. He lies awake and listens to them. I, on the other hand, who've always been known to sleep through anything, I fall asleep, but it took me a long time to realize, and I kind of, in cooperation with my doctor, realized that I'm not reaching REM sleep. So even though I'm physically, my eyes are closed, I'm actually not sleeping and resting well. So that causes, lack of memory, lack of concentration. Our weight goes up and down. Just all the things you can imagine that would go with lack of sleep and increased stress. Mm-hmm. And then on top of that, in the beginning, our house shook so badly, the vibration was so bad that you could hold your hand against the wall and literally feel the house moving. You would lay in bed, and it almost, if you've ever been near when a train goes by, it almost felt like the house was shaking, like a train was going by. We've had heart palpitations. One day I had vibrations within my body, almost like a tick in your eye, that I could feel, that I couldn't stop. I had no control over. Had to physically leave to get rid of them. My children have had traveling rashes and headaches, and when they were really little, they would have buzzing in their ears, and they'd ask about the bee sound in their ears. Just so many health problems. And I have been to the doctor, I can't even count how many times to run, I can't even count how many tests to rule out any other possible things that could be causing these health problems. And I think in the 4 years, I think finally my doctor has come to realize, and in fact commented the last time I was there, that more and more people are coming forward with the same symptoms in Chatham-Kent. Mm-hmm. And the health unit and the health profession is starting to compare notes and realize that, hey, maybe these first few people actually are being affected. We spent over $100,000 on renovating our home, because we decided we would take a stand and combat it ourselves. So we invested in, we redid our entire sill plate, we reinforced our house, we put on triple pane windows, we did 6 inches of insulation around the whole house, plus an additional inch that's in the siding. We got rounded siding to help bounce the sound. We got a steel roof to help bounce the sound. We investigated with engineers. We did all kinds of things to try to combat it, and it hasn't worked. So now we've invested all this money into this home, and we've been told by realtors it's unsellable because it's too nice of a home, it's worth too much, and people who want to spend that kind of money don't want to buy surrounded by turbines. So really, emotionally, financially, everything, we've been affected. It's affected relationships, it's affected jobs. My husband I took on a second job, and my husband started a business to try to help us with the financial part, and there's no out. It just seems to be getting worse and worse. We invested all of that money after the wind company came and did a sound assessment at our house, because in spring of 2009, when we were experiencing all the problems, they did, in my opinion, pretend to be concerned, and they sent out, they hired an external company to come out and do some noise testing. But when the testing came back, we were told that the loud noise that was being monitored was coming from the inside of our house, but they couldn't tell us what could possibly be causing it. We were told that the spikes that possibly were coming from the turbines had been corrected and fixed. It was a mechanical thing, a motor was turning funny, and they went and fixed it, and it would be fine now. And as a matter of fact, last week the Ministry of Environment representative called me to see if they could come out. Apparently they have a new sound machine that they would like to come out and try and monitor the sound at our home. And I think that's great, except I'm a little bit leery because I have heard that they've done that in other places and then the same thing happens. The noise level is high, but oh, there was a tractor going by, or oh, there must have been a plane going overhead all those times and during all those windy days. So I'm a little leery to trust them now after what they've done to us. So I've been pretty outspoken about all of this. My husband is much more private than I am, but I think people have a right to know. So when the situation started becoming more well known and some groups formed and it was advised that people keep diaries, I started a blog at that time, and I used that blog to kind of diary what was happening to us as it went on. And it's interesting because when I read back on the blog, I say things like, could this really be happening? Or is it really the turbines? Or is it something else? And really questioning that it could be possible. But in fact, that I know I can say now 110% that's what it is, because when we leave our home, and even for one night, our symptoms practically disappear. I feel like a completely different person. I could sleep away from my house for one night and feel like I've slept a week's worth of sleep. It's completely amazing. And at first I thought, well, maybe that's just because we're going on vacation and everybody feels better on vacation. But then I've gone back to Alberta, where I'm from a few times for things like funerals, which are stressful and not fun, on quick trips, and I still felt 1,000 times better even under those stressful situations. So I know for a fact that's what. So I've written letters to, all members of Parliament, to public health, to our local health, to our mayor. I've gone to the media. I've written letters to the editor. I've been interviewed by our local papers, local radios. I've been interviewed on CTV a couple of times, CBC a couple of times. I've spoke on call-in shows. I've tried to deal with the wind company themselves. However, and this is interesting because at the 2-year mark from when we started complaining, I suddenly got a letter that said, we've done all we can do. Thanks very much. Have a nice day. And I couldn't figure out why. It was always all the niceties. And then all of a sudden, they just kind of brushed me off. And so I called a lawyer to ask what that might be about. And they said, well, because they think the statute of limitations has run out and you can't sue them. So they're going to wash their hands of you now because they've dragged you on for the 2 years. So I no longer have contact with them. They don't return my calls or answer my emails. I've worked with the Ministry of Environment. I've had counselors, local counselors, come to my home and sit and say, oh my gosh, I can't believe it, and yes, I can hear it, and yes, I can feel the vibration, and then the very next week, vote for more turbines. In terms of, medical and everything else, really, I get a lot of the same answer. We're not equipped to deal with that, or a lot of shuffling around. So if I go to the Canada Public Health, they say you have to go to your local. And if I go to the local, they say this is a government problem, you have to go higher. So you get moved around a lot. Okay. What they don't realize is it's not just a noise. There's so much more to it. And so when it goes day after day after day, and it gets, and I can't explain it because I'm not a doctor, but it gets inside of you where you wake up and you feel like the room is spinning and your heart is beating to that rhythm of the turbine. It's so much more than just a noise. Until you live with it, it's very hard. I don't know if I would believe it if I didn't live with it. I mean, we've asked if they could just turn them off from, midnight till 5 a.m. for a couple weeks just to see if it makes a difference. We've asked if just the ones closest to us could be, not run at certain times. We've tried everything, and there's no reasoning with anyone. Once they're running, they're running. So if someone knows they're coming, the other advice I would give is if you have any kind of predisposition, sell your house before they get put up, because I know the counselor that lives down the road from me sold right before ours went up, and now he's gone, and now whoever lives there is dealing with it. I mean, we'd like to move, but I personally would not sell my home to another family without telling them absolutely everything that we've been through. And even then, I would find it difficult, especially if they had children, because there's so many non-believers that the parents might think, oh, she's just crazy or whatever, buy the house, and then here I've put another family in the same situation, and I just couldn't live with myself. So, we're kind of stuck, just living with it, hoping that somebody somewhere will realize it's true. I'm hoping this health study that they've announced will find some answers, but again, I had a study done at my house, and I'm sure it proved that there was high decibel levels and vibration and everything else, but where is it? It's disappeared, so we never know what's going to happen at the other end. I guess all I can say to government and ministry is that they need to look back at their past mistakes and all the times in history where the people have tried to tell them that something was wrong, or a group of people have tried to tell them that something was unhealthy. Cigarettes pop into my head, but because of money, because of big business, they turned a blind eye, and the few that spoke up were ostracized and not listened to. And, it's time for the rest of them to say, hey, we need to do what's right and not just focus on the dollar. Because, if I look around at rural Chatham-Kent, I know we're not the only family. And there are hundreds of people suffering just in this one area. So take that and spread it across Canada. It's ridiculous. And the worst part about these turbines is they could still have them. Just don't put them near people. We've got tons of space that they could be put where they wouldn't bother anybody. But for the sake of saving, and all I can figure is because there's no grid out there, they don't want the cost of taking the grid out to that space. Well, you know what? Take the cost and put them where they're not harming people. Why do they have to be so close to everybody, doing all the damage that they're doing? It's not right.